Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live. And I am really kind of disturbed by the Jerusalem Post title in this particular news story. Israeli child survived Italy cable car crash, abducted to Israel. This is the report that is coming out right now out of Israel. And of course, this report is very, very dear family, very close friends of mine, Chris, his wife, which are the grandparents of Ethan Byron, the little boy that survived this tragic crash that killed his mother, his father, his grandparents, and his other sibling as well. And I'm going to share with you the real story behind this. This has really been a sham from the very beginning. And I've been given permission from the family as well to be able to share some of the photos that have been shared with me. In fact, over the years, I didn't go back many years. I went back just a couple of years and pulled up some of the photos and stuff that, the family's always sending me photos of, their life, what goes on, things like that. And in fact, just to share with you here, let me just show, this is Grandma and Grandpa right here. This is Chris. I'm not going to say Grandma's name on here. Just kind of keep that private right now. But at any rate there, this is, Chris is a very good friend of mine, lives in Israel there with his wife, the grandparents of Ethan and the little boy that survived the rail car crash. And it's their daughter, who was the mother of this little boy, and of course their son-in-law, who worked for Mossad at the time of the crash. His grandparents or great-grandparents that were on board the crash as well. Izzy was the great-grandfather, which is the father of Chris's wife. A major family and intelligence in Israel there. And it's just really sad, this whole crash. I mean, I have been distraught over it from the very time it happened because my heart has just really gone out for the family. And going back in time, you can see here in this photo right here, Ethan is right there. He's probably a couple of years younger in this photo here with his mom and his auntie. And his auntie, of course, works for the IDF. She's a soldier. So we won't reveal her identity there. That's why I kind of chose a picture with her back there. This is again another family photo there. Ethan is right there. Ethan Byron wearing his little Batman shirt there in the scene there. That's his father at the end of the table there. His mom holding his little brother. And you can barely see right down there in the bottom right part of the screen there. That's Grandma right there. And of course, Chris is the one taking the photo. All this is in Israel. Very, very close family there. There again, we got Grandma, Mom, Ethan down in the bottom left corner of the picture there, and his little brother there as well. So I've known this family for a long time. And there Ethan is again with his mom and dad. And of course, the three there above tragically were killed in the crash. Ethan's father was becoming a doctor. He left the Mossad. He was had studied to be a doctor, and so he was making a change in life there. So again, it was very tragic what took place there, over there. And of course, then we get this story here from the Jerusalem Post. And it said a custody battle between the family in Italy and Israel had been raging over 6-year-old Ethan Byron, and it was it is what his parents would have wanted. Said Ethan Byron, an Israeli child who was the sole survivor of the cable car crash in Italy in May, was allegedly abducted on Saturday by his grandfather and taken back to Israel. Now, I will say that was a very clandestine operation that took place, and I actually know the full story behind it. It was, because it was sent to me. Chris actually sent to me the details behind it. He said the Italian system is totally corrupt. He said the Italian judge gave custody to the boy's sister in the hospital hallway the second day after the accident while we were burying the 6 bodies his mother, his father, his little brother, his great-grandparents, while we were burying the 6 bodies here in Israel. And of course, I shared some of the photos with you on another broadcast there of the funeral itself that was sent to me. And but anyway, the grandfather of Roy does not speak Italian or English, nor did the judge. And he puts it plainly, the schmuck had no legal representation or a translator. He did not know he gave full custody to the evil sister of the dead, because she was doing all talking, and she's a doctor and talks well. Blonde, blue-eyed. Well, I won't say what he says here. I have to do some little bleeps in here. It's all right. I love Chris. But anyway, it says by the doctor's sister would work for full custody of the boy, and did not deal with it. He did nothing, no retaliation, and of course, they basically, the Italians manipulated giving custody over to his sister, and yet the family, the little boy is born in Israel. He speaks Hebrew, doesn't understand Italian or anything, and the family wanted him back. Actually, the grandparents really wanted to be able to have custody of him. He says, we could not even get a proper hearing on the issue in Italy. He says, my wife in a private hearing in Israel got full custody adoption from Family Israel State Court recently, and then the extradition operation was given a green light as a go. So anyway, they began to prepare the operation, and the spec operations. He says we had spec operators blocking cars and chase cars en route to the private airfield with a Blackwater jet on standby. So the transfer of the boy was happened in Cyprus to Israel Jet. The U.S. They used a U.S. pilot in the operation, and they thought they may have to use Cyprus as a landing point. And then you seen how the boy was so happy. He said, well, I won't use that word there, but anyway, he basically made a beeline and flew right into Israel without any flight plan. And the other Israel operators got him cleared to enter Israel's airspace to a private airfield. He said, the boy is now sleeping, now at Grandpa's home. He will be at my home later. I am to be with the boy at all times, and got this fully armed all times, now ready to rock as needed. So basically, they went in there in a very covert operation using private military contractors, and they got their grandson out of Italy and flew him back in through a private jet by I already mentioned to you about Blackwater, brought him back into Israel, and now he is safely back in Israel there. Chris sent me some photos there. This is when they first brought him in. They brought him into the hospital to examine him to make sure he was all okay and everything. So you see a lot of the family members around. Of course, Ethan, very happy to be home. You can just see that. Look at that little big smile on little Ethan's face there. That's his other grandfather right there on the left-hand side of the picture there. His uncle and auntie there, seen in the picture as well. And of course, here he is right here, getting back in Israel, very happy to be back home. So that's the real story of what went on there. You're not going to probably hear it in mainstream media, but because the family is close friends of ours there, they have shared with me what actually took place, how they got him out. There was another operation that was planned as well. Of course, they get a little bit of aggressive in those other operations. And of course, they do show the photos here on the Jerusalem Post of that rail car crash that killed everybody on board. And of course, Ethan was the only survivor of that crash there. So at any rate, we are happy to know that he's back home. And I'm very happy for the sake of his grandparents, Chris and Chris's wife there. Like I said, I won't mention her name here on this broadcast here. Anyway, God bless you. Thank you for listening, and all the best to the family there in Israel and to Ethan's safe return.